Hello everyone, this is Lee Heisman and welcome to The Roadmap. Each and every week we bring you entrepreneurs and their journey on scaling and selling their businesses. This week we have a personal good friend of mine, Cliff Oxford. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lee.
Cliff, it's wonderful to see you. I follow you. I've gone to your groups for many, many years. I'm so excited for our viewers to understand who you are and to talk about your journey. But your first business, called STI Knowledge, you had this business many, many years ago for nearly a decade, and then you decided to exit out of the business and sell it. What were some of the factors that determined the time frame for you?
Well, first of all, thanks for the great entrepreneurial instincts you have to dive right into it. I like that. I like getting right into it. So this is why you fit so well with Oxford Center and CliffCo. But you know, I tell you when I decided to sell, and I never had the thought. I loved that company. My kids loved that company. Everybody loved that company. And I knew it was decided to sell when I saw the beta of Salesforce. I looked at Salesforce and I looked at my CFO and said, we'll never compete with him. Because I was selling licenses where we'd go pick up a check for a couple $100,000. And Salesforce came out with kind of the, buy the drink. And I said, we can never compete with Mark.
So you were going to sell because you saw something coming on the horizon.
I saw something and I said, this guy's going to dominate this. Salesforce is going to dominate. We can't, somebody would be, financially stupid to go with us. Even though we were the best, are you going to pay $200,000 or $2,000 a week? So anyway, I saw that and decided let's sell. And then also, there in the background I was selling to the Fortune 1000. We had sold 87% to the Fortune 500. I had 87% market share in our niche. And I sold to a lot of CIOs. And I had a good time doing that, but it was probably time to go there too.
So you had polished your crystal ball, you saw the foresight of what was coming, and you made the move because you saw that timing.
Yeah, and I was at UPS before I started the company, and we started CRM. I was the first one into CRM where we came out and said this, and that's why we had the certification standard. We trained 77,000 technicians from the Fortune 1000.
Yep.
So we in our niche we were the standard, but we first started as the CRM company. Then Tom Siebel and Oracle and NetSuite all had something to say about that. They jumped in, and we were able to withstand that. But I said, we'll never withstand this guy, Mark Benoff.
No, it makes sense, and you saw the forest through the trees. So, you've been focusing, and from that transition, you focused on educating entrepreneurs. You even published 3 books, and in April 2008, you founded something called the Oxford Center, which the words are still used today amongst the group of very successful entrepreneurs across the entire country. Why did you feel the Oxford Center was needed in our community?
That's when I was at Emory. I sold my company, and I went to Emory, endowed a program over there. And I'm like, why don't we ever invite business people to the business school? Seems like a good idea. And of course, you got all these people that says, oh, we can't do that. You always have that. So I said, watch this. So I said, let's invite people to Emory. So that's where it started. The first 2 years was at Emory.
So as simple as let's invite business people to the business school. Keep it simple, stupid, as people say.
And yes, and that's how the Oxford Center started.
That's wonderful. Well, recently you've taken the Oxford Center. You did sell the Oxford Center.
I did sell the Oxford.
And I want you to talk about that transition, selling the Oxford Center and then reopening up something called CliffCo.
Correct. The Oxford Center was another 10 years. I thought it was going to be 2 to 3. And we got into that, and then we started developing MBA curriculum. We did a lot of, I started writing with the New York Times. That helped build out Oxford Center, maybe even more than Emory did.
And even Forbes magazine.
Forbes magazine.
Highly integrated with Forbes.
Yeah, Forbes, and Forbes Books is the ultimate buyer of the Oxford Center, but Forbes actually hired me away from the New York Times to write a daily column. I don't know if you remember the morning report.
Cliff, who can forget your morning report?
I wrote 711 morning reports, 711 times in the morning. But Forbes Books came and they wanted to buy it, and they did. And I thought, they could go onto the bigger Forbes platform. certainly bigger than the Oxford platform. So when we sold that, it was time. That was a good timing too. Now, what I wanted to do with CliffCo, I didn't want another Oxford Center. Be honest with you, I'd done that, and it was like, an Oxford Center was not on startups, as you know. It was not on corporate. It was on category leaders. How can you get into a category and dominate and scale and exit? And so the next thing, I came back and said, Porsche came to me and said, why don't we, because I had a relationship with them, and they said,
and when you say Porsche, for our viewers out there, you don't mean an individual named Porsche. You mean Porsche being corporately headquartered out of Germany, but the North American headquarters is here in Atlanta.
Yes, that is correct. And they said, and COVID hit, and they said, why don't we do something with entrepreneurs? Because entrepreneurs buy their cars when they become successful. And I came back to them, and one thing I never want to do is just come back and rubber stamp, right? So I came back and said, look, I think we can do category leaders across all fields, not just business. Melanie, the Save the Whales. That's
absolutely.
Working with cargo ship owners to slow down to save the whales. The Okefenokee Wildlife Refuge. So we looked at people who are changing a category and improving a category across all fields. And now we bring those people together, and we found out that is a lot more dynamic than just having business people in the room.
I think you're right. I've been a part of it, and it does feel more dynamic. And what's amazing for our viewers out there is to understand you've taken your experiences and you continue to refine it. As you exit and sell a business, you then open up another one to refine that. But part of our show here, the roadmap, is almost like a portable mentor for our viewers, so they can understand this process. You've had to have had mentors in your life.
Yeah, and I think mentors, Bill Gower, who built Matrix here, he and his partners built a company called Matrix Resources, was a huge mentor. Michael Bloomberg, way before we got in politics, I met him standing in a breakfast line at a Business Week conference. And Michael Bloomberg taught me more than anybody, and I spent very little time with him. My mentors were like this. I call them up, ask a question, and they go, and they give it to me. And then you got to decide, do I do this or not? But I think many times mentors gets overblown. I think an hour meeting every week. People have been successful at it, but it was not the way we did it. And today I got 250 companies in CliffCo.
Yep.
Lee, you can call me anytime you want to and ask me a question.
That's true. Everybody at CliffCo does pick up the phone and call you.
Call me, and I tell people, these people don't call the chat. They call only when there's an issue.
That's so true. It's like family, and
it's
you've
like
created a family there.
Yeah, and I said, they call me and they ask me a question, I answer it, and we go on. And that's how the community thrives. I'm not going to sit down at 4 o'clock every Friday and sit with Lee Heisman and say, how did the week go?
That's true. You're not a schedule guy like that, and that's why I appreciate you coming all the way to the studio today. So let me ask you another question, Cliff. In addition to you having these successes of scaling your business and selling a lot of your businesses, you also do that for people, and you've been an advisor and help people sell their business. Give me your favorite success story of you helping someone sell their business.
Well, No Grow Exit, that was the book. And that was part of the Oxford Center. The whole idea was help you build something to sell that's got value to sell. A lot of baby boomers right now are facing the issue, do I really have anything here to sell, even though the business is highly successful? So we really focused on that. And my most favorite are probably not my biggest ones. My biggest ones are great because they're financially rewarding. But, I'll give you one. Mary Reynolds had the Reynolds Group.
Yes.
And she focused on restaurants and PR. And we found a great buyer for her. And what you got to think about in that area is who could really benefit these restaurant owners and sell them more stuff. So it's not just a revenue thing, it's an exponential customer sale.
That's true. It's you're almost like a matchmaker.
Yeah.
You get to watch two people fall in love. And have this new relationship. So Cliff, as we wrap up here, there is some breaking news going
Yes.
on for CliffCo. And for people that know Cliff Oxford, and I'll tell you, if you know Cliff Oxford, you want to look him up, of course, and look up the Oxford Center. But there is some breaking news here.
There's some
about
breaking
your
news,
organization.
and I'm happy to first tell you, because you and Ted y'all out organize me, y'all out hustle me, you all are just.
This isn't why we brought you on the show.
I know you
for
know. I know you.
compliments, of course.
And I don't give them out very often.
True.
I'm pretty tough on entrepreneurs, but you all are just amazing, and so I saved this for you. You know, I named a new company CliffCo, and I thought that was really good because it was Cliff and Co. I got the URL, cliffco.com, and my customers were not as impressed. My customers kept calling it Oxford.
True.
You know, they kept, and I said, and we tried everything, and CliffCo it was still Oxford, but I sold Oxford Center.
That's correct.
So now, and I had the think tank. We have made this whole community a think tank. So as of this Monday, it's going to be Think Oxford, not CliffCo.
I like how you blended that.
Yeah.
It has been a think tank.
Yeah.
And you're taking CliffCo and Oxford and you're kind of meshing it together.
Yes, we're going to put Oxford back in the name because our community of leaders, whether it's Seattle, Canada, here in the United States, they want Oxford in that name.
You know, once you have a brand, the recognition is hard to let go of.
And you know, speaking of mentors, Michael Bloomberg, who everything was Bloomberg.
That's true.
And he was always, why would you flush Oxford down the toilet? That brand equity.
Well, you know,
And
it
he's
comes back
always
around, right?
He's always, Michael Bloomberg has been right about a lot of things.
Well, listen, for a lot of our viewers out there, we always ask this question at the end of our show here, which is if you have one piece of advice you'd give to entrepreneurs who are looking to sell their business, what would it be?
If you were looking to sell your business, I would read the book, No Grow Exit. I put it.
Where can they get that, Cliff?
On Amazon. You can go to Amazon and order No Grow Exit. Ugo in our group, he read the book, Dr. Ugo, and he read the book and sold his own business. And he probably called me twice with questions. You know, and
That's
I mean,
amazing.
and he said, but he's a doctor, he's a great student, and he took all the notes in the book, and he's a clinician, so he went and did it.
I think those are words of wisdom. Either hire someone you trust or do it yourself, of course, through the process.
That's
Makes
it.
complete sense. Well, Cliff, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
This was a treat. Thank you.
It was a wonderful seeing you. Look like $1 million as usual, guys. and for our viewers out there, keep tuning in every week for another new episode of The Roadmap.